Hi there. Today I am in a former office building that has been converted by Lal De Silva into three flats under permitted development. We've been here before. We produced a video several months ago when Lal first picked up the keys to this site, where we went through the plans and you saw some of the construction elements going on. If you haven't seen that video, I've got a link up there in the corner for you to catch up on that. So this is now, the development is now finished. I'll just leave you to look around a little bit and then we'll be right back speaking to Lal about some of the challenges he's faced. My name is Ranjan Bhattacharya. I've been investing and developing properties for more than 30 years. And this is my channel, and it's all dedicated to helping you become a more successful property entrepreneur. We upload new content each and every week, so make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you get notified as soon as we upload. Also comment down below, let us know what you think of this video, let us know what you want us to make videos on as well. I host the Baker Street Property Meet. Lal is a regular as well. It's a monthly networking event attended by more than 200 property investors each and every month on the last Wednesday of every month. Details are at bakerstreetpropertymeet.com. Do join us there at one of our future meets. Lal, what a fantastic end to this project this is. 3 lovely flats. You must be very happy indeed.
Yes, I think we are quite happy with the outcome. It's been 3 months since you were
Yes.
here last time. Yeah, it's been a busy period. I'm glad we got here.
So as we can see, we've got 3 flats in this building. We're in the second floor flat occupying the top floor, and there's 2 one-bedroom flats down below.
Yeah.
So it's a small office to resi project that, as we mentioned in the first video, wasn't really on many people's radar.
Yes, basically it's total square footage of 1,100 thereabout. That kind of level is not in the radar, because it's just about 1,500. That's what you put on when you check on the portals. So yeah.
And you got help to buy on this scheme. And a lot of people do think that help to buy, the government's help to buy scheme is just for large developers. So you applied for the scheme. What was that process like? Was it easy to do?
Quite straightforward. I had at the beginning it took about 4 months for them to even come back at me, but I knew I could get help to buy on 3 units. After 4 months thereabout, for the next 2 months it just kicked in. We managed to get to the documents legal signed. So altogether about 6 months process.
But the benefit of that, of course, is that compared to other 1 and 2 bedroom flats in this locality, which is Wheat Hampstead, just outside St Albans, those people are, anyone buying those flats need a whacking great big deposit, whereas people can move into this with just 5%, isn't it?
Yes, that's a big advantage, because most of, the 3 units are, I call it micro flats, but without help to buy, you are looking at 25% deposit on a unit, anything from 230 to 300,000. So that's quite a bit of money someone need to have. But in this area, you don't have many help to buy schemes. So one of the main strengths of this development, especially in this market, is help to buy.
Yes. So I can see that you've done it up in a very nice spec. You can see some of the shots here. The kitchens are all very nice, all the fancy stone effect worktops. The bathrooms are good quality and all of that. Did you? Who did the design, the internal finishings and all of that?
Well, mainly I hired this London-based architect who has, I think, good taste with their previous projects. They've done larger projects. They've done the design, and I work alongside. So I had my vision. I wanted to achieve this boutique-looking apartments, and not the major developer type, standard kind of finish. We wanted to give something, in high quality development. So so we work with the architect, but they have done the main design.
Yes. And you even staged one of the flats. You can see in the video you put furniture in and all
Yes.
the rest of it. That's just so that people can visualize it, is it?
Yes, especially we are now in the 2-bed flat,
Mhm.
which is 55 square meter. So this is a flat that a lot of people can relate to in the area. But 31 or 36 square meter flats downstairs, even though we spend a lot of time designing them to function in a very clever way, and nothing's being left out. In fact, there are more features of an average one-bed flat in the area. But having that vision passed across to the buyer it can be a bit of a challenge. So we decided to furnish it, and now you can see it's you have an area for the bedroom is full-size double bedroom with a wardrobe.
Yes.
The sitting area, the dining table, the kitchen is full on with all the modern facilities.
With a compact flat, you really got to show the people what they're getting so they can visualize it.
Yes.
Another thing Lyle did, which larger developers do, is do these lovely CGIs with floor plans and everything like that. And these are normally quite expensive to put together. So how did you get yours done so competitively priced?
Yeah, that's quite interesting because I at this scale of development, this is under 1 million GDV.
Mm-hmm.
So as a developer, you need to put on many hats, in my opinion. So you need to be involved in each and every aspect of the development, and the CGI prices for CGI is from the UK and main CGI companies. They're quite high for us. So I approached someone overseas. In fact, on Fiverr.com, and I don't know, can I say?
Yeah. Fiverr, with a double R.
Yeah, this could help people, right?
Mm.
So this was an architect in I think Vietnam who's done the design, but I had to be involved with my vision and the style I want. But it was a process, but probably 1/3 or less of the price I had from the UK. I managed to get that sorted, so I'm quite pleased with it.
Yes. It's brilliant. It helps with the marketing. I mean, it's helped you. You've secured a buyer for this top flat. Obviously, the election has created a little bit of uncertainty, but that should hopefully clear up in the new year. But one of them is certainly off the books before this latest round of uncertainty, shall we say. So it's a relatively small project, and this is your first project. It's an office to resi conversion, permitted development. You didn't really have the planning hassles, and it was really about project managing this, because with small projects, one of the key ways to make sure you get the most return is to orchestrate all the trades and talents around you to stick to a plan.
Yes.
What were your biggest challenges in running your first property development project?
There were quite a few challenges. Obviously, with you have your power team, your architects, your planning consultants, your the other kind of team involved. Even if you are new to being a developer, you can't take a back seat and hope to learn from the process. At the end of the day, you are the employer, you are the conductor of the project. So you have to make sure you're one step ahead of everyone what they're doing, and to make sure your timing is right, you make the right decision with the best knowledge at hand at the time. So that has been the biggest learning or the challenge.
I understand exactly what you're saying, because a lot of people, when they get the professional advisors in, they expect them to almost make the decision, whereas they're giving the professional advice from their point of view.
Yes.
And it's up to the entrepreneur to take that advice along with other professional advice from other departments, if you like, mix it together and make the right decision based on all the priorities.
No, exactly right. Yes. So those are, you grow a lot because you push your limits, because you need to educate yourself very quickly. When an issue comes up, let's say relate to certain kind of building control issues, or it could be utility. There's some issue where to place the utility. We had a originally planned location for the utility, and there were some technical issues you need to quickly decide this is the new position, and then what impact it'll create, because you don't want to do the wrong thing by compromising the wrong spot, which is going to be an issue later. So those are the kind of challenges. So you need to, everyone will say, okay, I think this could be the best solution, but then eventually it'll be your decision, because at the end of the day, it is on your hands and it's your project. So,
with hindsight, would you have rather started your development career on a larger project where perhaps the GDV would be more, the end return would be more, and you're making 12, 15 flats, or are you happier that you've started with a smaller project and taken that learning on?
Right, this is a mixed answer to that. I'm very happy that I started. I think I spoke to you about this at the very beginning. When I took on this project, I took it on thinking this is sort of the right scale where I can, if I have to, I can make a mistake, and I'm sort of okay to make that mistake with that sort of numbers, so I'm very happy that I'm within that. I made some mistakes, yes, and I learned from it, and you dive into the deep end and do this. So in the other hand, you work with someone who's more experienced, because firstly I won't say no, you won't be able to get it, but you will struggle to get your finances. You will in a larger development as a first timer, you will have to partner with someone, which is a great way to learn. So that was another option that I was considering, but it happened to be this, so I took it on.
So what you're saying, it allows you to sort of put a cap on any mistakes, because you could contain all of that, but it also gives you the experience then to go back for funding next time, leveraging that experience and getting a better rate. Because a lot of people don't realise that your first project is always your most expensive project, with everything, because you will make some mistakes. It'll take longer to do stuff because you don't know, and time costs money. But also, the first-time developer is getting charged more interest by development lenders. That's just a fact. So if you start with a smaller project and then your second one is bigger, then you'll benefit from better rates, but on a larger sum, because your second project is bigger. So you'll benefit in that way as well.
I believe so, yes. My lenders, I believe they're quite happy with the process so far, with the challenges we faced and how we faced it. So hopefully we'll get better terms. I didn't have bad terms. Let's put it out of the area, because the rates are pretty decent, but I know I can get better.
You'll always get better
yes.
Next project.
As you grow, because it's about creating your establishing yourself. So yeah, I'm happy with where we are.
Now you got development as well as finance to buy the building. You got development finance as well, and that means that the bank or the lender releases money at various stages of the development project.
Right.
So they send around the QS and they see what work's done, and then they issue a statement, and then that allows you to pay your builders in arrears.
Yes.
And that involves a different level of cash flow discipline.
Right.
How did you find that, and how did you find that with the builders?
Yeah, it's very interesting, because cash flow is a must manage thing to do, because especially in a development like this, we are all like, even the builders we had, they were builders who are in the sort of moving from residential to larger commercial, or they're looking at their next step up. So we signed the JCT contracts with payment in arrears. You need to make sure your cash flow and the builders understand what they're signing up for to start with, and there are other elements like VAT. So you pay the VAT and you reclaim that. So you need to have that built in your cash flow. So
Just tell people a little bit about that, because otherwise they're all going to comment below and all the rest of it. Because this is you're creating 3 dwellings here,
yes.
VAT is charged at a reduced rate.
Yes, so the VAT is 5% on the build, and we could claim most of the VAT with the other. Obviously, take your financial advice depending on your kind of project. But in this case, we can claim, because we are creating new homes to sell. We can claim VAT, but VAT we have to pay and then claim back.
So if it's basically if it's fixed down, like this kitchen is fixed down,
yes.
you can't move it.
Yeah.
So you'd have to pay you'd have to pay the VAT on the kitchen.
Of course.
But afterwards you collect all your receipts, give it to your accountant, they'll put in a claim to claim that back.
Yes. As long as you're selling, I believe.
Yes.
So that kind of thing, and another element that you really have to watch out is the lenders typically will hold back a percentage of your development finance until the building control sign off. So you need to make sure you budget for that. In my case, it's 10%, and your bills have to be paid. The builders have to be paid within that period. Building control can take a little longer to finalize their sign off.
Yes.
Did
you use a private buildings inspector or the local council?
We use a private inspector. Yes.
Did you find that was more advantageous? I guess you haven't used a council one.
Well, I haven't used a council one, yes. I think that was the recommendation from my architect, and they used this company before. So they had great experience. And another thing, I don't know is relevant, but I know some sort of experienced builders who use the building control sort of halfway through. So I don't know why they have done it, but we got them involved from the drawing stage to make sure they've seen each and every element, they've seen the whole picture, so there's nothing for question later. So
okay, so it's a fantastic project. I think you've done really, really well, and you're going to do some more?
Of course, yes. It's about step back, learn from the whole process, and then see where you want to be next and what level you want to play at. And I think to identify a sweet spot, what is that, the economies of scale and all that. So I'm working on that. I'm looking at few things. So we'll talk about it on another time. Brilliant.
I'm looking forward to tracking some of your other projects. If you want to find out more about getting into commercial property or getting into permitted development conversions, of course, I run a weekend workshop to get you involved in all aspects of commercial property buy-to-let, converting former commercial buildings like this into residential use, and also utilising your pension to invest in commercial property. Click on the link below. It's www.bakerstreetworkshop.com for details of the full weekend workshop and also the next available dates that we have. Hope to join you there and look forward to catching you guys in the next video. Bye for now. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, what are you waiting for? Subscribe, hit the bell icon. As soon as we upload, we'll let you know. And enjoy these. They're all dedicated to helping you be more successful in property. Happy investing!